Hey YouTube, it's EvanMagician34, and I've got my second version of the Agent deck for you. And this one runs on a different principle. It uses one of the most forgotten agents of all, of whom we are running two copies. We're running the Agent of Judgment Saturn. It came in the deck, so now it's not really that tough a card to find. It was kind of obscure before. It's a 2400 point, 1 tribute monster, although you don't have to tribute for it. And when the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field and you have higher life points than your opponent, you can sack it to deal damage to your opponent equal to whatever the difference is. So if you've got twice your opponent's life points or more than that, then you can instantly kill them with this guy. But it's still just a good fairy, and you can bring it in lots of different ways. You can attack the turn you use that effect, by the way, which is a little complicating, but not so bad. A little bit of burn goes a long way, especially with cards like Hyperion. So we're going to try to play around that. We use 3 copies of Agent of Mystery Earth. We're also running 1 copy of the Agent of Miracles Jupiter. And 1 copy of Mars. He's a little more useful in this deck, but still he's not a great thing to have stock up in your hand or anything. And since we can search him, we're still just running the 1. We're running 2 copies of Master Hyperion. He is searchable, and we're not really focusing on him and his destruction ability quite as much. Fewer of your opponent's cards are going to impede your burn anyway, so he's a little less necessary. We're running 3 copies of Nova Summoner. Yes, this gets gasoline for Hyperion and whatnot, but it's also going to help assure that you've got tribute fodder to tribute summon your Saturn, and it also thins out your deck, which is certainly nice. We've got 2 copies of Shining Angel. Yeah, he summons him in attack mode, but you have Sanctuary, which will help defend your life points and whatnot, which is actually pretty important in this deck, because we're trying to use Saturn for a kill. 1 copy of Marshmallow. He's a great card to search and then set, just because of the damage, but don't be afraid to search him off of Angel or Nova Summoner to help stop your opponent from getting to you directly. 1 copy of Alchemist, so play him sparingly. You're going to search him out more than anything to get something key that may get removed. We're also running 1 copy of Tethys, Goddess of Light. She'll work with cards from the sky and whatnot, as well as just your regular draw. We're only running 1, but she can be searched and specialed and whatnot. And she has some interesting sinking possibilities. We're also running 1 copy of Sangan, because he searches a lot of key stuff like Honest and Agent of Earth and so on and so forth. Speaking of which, Honest. And last but not least, we're running 2 copies of Zeratius, Herald of Heaven, because he's just better than Terraforming on a number of levels. Still 3 copies of Sanctuary in the Sky. This will help preserve your life points, but more than anything else, it'll just help your agent effects go off. And searching for it thins your deck, which is nice. Once again, I'm going to say that 3-potted duality is something you should be running in this deck. Now, obviously, not everybody out there listening to this is going to have 3-potted dualities, at least not right now. I'm sure they're going to reprint it someday, but probably not in the foreseeable future. So if you don't have 3-potted dualities, which I would emphasize is very important for this particular build, it's alright. What you can do, I really don't want you to run Upstart Goblin in this deck. You can, but it's not great because it makes Saturn's work a little bit harder. So you could run Magical Mallet, but the minusing is not really attractive in this build that doesn't have a lot of +1s, really. So I would almost rather you run, say, Legacy of Yata-Garasu or Jar of Greed or some such thing like that. A lot of your sets can be somewhat predictable in this deck, so cards like that would be a benefit. You could even mix and match. Really, it's something to play around with. Obviously, Potted Duality is the best way to go, though. 3 copies of Cards from the Sky. No excuse for not having 3 of this. It's also part of why we have Alchemist. But it helps accelerate you into your ideal situation. 1 copy of Monster Reborn. This can definitely get Saturn, or in any one of a number of other things. Dark Hole. Just a good control right there. Giant Trunade. We're not running the MSTs, just the Trunade. Basically, this helps you make 1 big sweeping turn. You're more likely to draw it than other decks because you have so much draw power. But MST doesn't do enough to justify its existence. We're also running Book of Moon. In a tight spot, you can use this on, say, Marshmallow. Really, it's unlikely he's going to get attacked anyway, unless you don't have Sanctuary and he's in attack mode or something like that. More than anything, this is a control card meant to stop your opponent from sinking or attacking in a key play or something like that. So that's mainly what Book is for. We're running Ceasefire. This is going to be a major damage card, which helps generate a quick differential in life points. Can also be a really surprise finish for the game. 2 copies of Magic Cylinder. It's a good surprise card to set for your opponent. You won't always get attacked, but a lot of people figure they can just attack through your stuff, and then you won't have any monsters left. So this could be a good surprise. It also helps defend cards like Saturn, if you need to. And last but not least, we are still definitely running 3 copies of Divine Punishment. We're not running Solemn because the life point cost is a little too problematic for us. But this nice cost-free Solemn Judgment works very well indeed. Play it correctly, and this card can win you the game almost by itself. And in the extra deck, there's room to play around with it, but I'm running 1 Decisive Armor because you can still sink for 10, and he's pretty much the biggest, best 10 target, not that there are many. Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Mistworm. You won't be sinking a whole lot since your tuners are somewhat limited, basically Monster Reborn and then the Agent Earth, but still. 1 copy of Stardust Dragon. 1 copy of Scrap Dragon. 1 copy of Colossal Fighter. 1 copy of Thought Ruler Archfiend. 1 copy of Avenging Knight Parshath. 1 copy of Black Rose Dragon. 1 copy of Ancient Sacred Wyvern. It's just one more way to take advantage of that life point differential. Can even do some really cool tricks with Magic Cylinder if your life points happen to be a little bit lower. They can attack him thinking he's weak, you know, you put him in defense mode or something like that. Then use Cylinder, and boom, all of a sudden, he's big. Bryanek, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Gaia Knight, Force of Earth, just a big 6-star. Flamvel Urquizus. Ally of Justice Catastor. And Magical Android. You can run the Librarian, but really you want to deter your opponent from actually getting out their synchros. So the card drawing isn't necessarily a boon. It's going to be like you drew a card, but at what cost kind of thing, since you don't sync very much yourself. So I would argue that Android's life gain in this build is actually probably better, but ultimately I think the difference is so small it's not really that consequential. You're unlikely to go get it anyway. So that's the extra deck, the main deck. And until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool videos.